Колеги, всім доброго ранку. Український кризовий медіа-центр розпочинає.
Good morning, dear colleagues. Ukraine Crisis Media Center started its work, and now we're going to speak about European standards for the bar. And our guest are Valentyn Gvozdiy, Deputy Head of the Ukrainian National Bar Association, and Grechkivskyi, Head of the Committee for International Relations, Ukrainian National Bar Association. Welcome on stage. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we are here in order to speak about current situation in Ukraine and further development of reforms in judiciary. And today, as the representative of Ukrainian National Bar Association, I would like to draw attention of our colleagues, lawyers and society, that we have many problems and many risks, and the situation is really difficult, and we try to overcome our difficulties. And the main problem is, the matter is, the government is going to resign, and several years it only came to power, and they promised different reforms. Many things were promised, but now we may state that the majority of these reforms were not completed, or they didn't succeed in carrying out these reforms, and we see the results of their activity. And here I have two reports that were prepared by the National Bar Association, and these documents are available on the site of the Ukrainian National Bar Association. The first is on the free legal assistance, and second, violations in the sphere. So these are the main problems Ukrainian advocacy face. We see what is needed to be done in order to solve these problems. For this, we should carry out real reforms. Firstly, we need, and we address the new government to change the law on free legal assistance, to reform the system, and to bring it up to international standards. And current Ministry of Justice deepened the problems that exist in the sphere of free legal assistance, and mainly human rights are violated, and all this legal assistance is directed to help people, and the idea of protection of a person is distorted. Free legal aid in Ukraine serves itself because funds are consumed by the system, and the system allocates only a small amount of funds for legal assistance to people. And a person who gets in difficult situation and needs a lawyer and cannot pay for the services, in this situation, the state should provide the lawyer to this person who is in need of this lawyer, and the state should provide this person and provide free legal assistance to this person. But there is corruption in this sphere, and we see indicators, we see facts, we see some wrong distribution of cases and other violations of when, for example, people have access to files and they don't keep secrets, and we are disturbed by the situation, and we have international support. But international organizations, they cannot change Ukrainian legislation, and this should be an initiative of our new government, and we address and we call our government, the future government, to urgently, after forming the new cabinet of ministers, to regulate properly the issue of free legal assistance. And secondly, the problem of violations of rights of advocates. And we spoke a lot about these violations, and there was a report on these violations. And today I would like to show some statistics. So this was the end of the first quarter of 2016, and 3 lawyers were killed during this first quarter of the year. So 3 cases of abuse, 8 lawyers were questioned in the course of investigation of the cases of their clients. So this is pressure on advocates and on innocent person. They take away protection from this person if they pressure and influence on the lawyer. And these are systemic problems. These are not separate cases. So there are some criminal proceedings against lawyers, and their property is destroyed. And this week, the day before yesterday, there was a situation when the suspicion was made on Valentyn Gvozdiy, and his property was damaged. And some people analyzed the situation, and from what you can see on the internet, firstly, they damaged the car. Who did this? Who needed this? They didn't allow him to drive, and then there are some proceedings with some violations of the norms. It doesn't matter who he was previously. Today he is an advocate, and we will defend all people, and it doesn't matter for us where they worked previously. And this situation demonstrates to those who work from the other side that brings these violations, that they themselves can become the object of these violations. So we please pay attention to the case of Grechkivskyi. You know, this case was brought a huge resonance in international arena, and National Bar Association of Ukraine addressed the military prosecutor's office that carry out investigation, and we want to be considered as a part that suffered in this case. And in this case, we will try to guarantee the rights in this process, the rights of the sister of the lawyer who was killed, and also we monitor the situation connected with the investigation of this crime. So all these problems I mentioned have 2 structural sources. The first one is legislation that should be updated, and secondly, those people who apply this legislation with violations, and we will pay special attention to it. 2 weeks ago, we conducted a meeting with the General Prosecutor's Office, and the General Prosecutor's Office heard us, we believe, and we started to build a constructive dialogue, but General Prosecutor's Office is not the only subject in this cooperation. Also, we work with National Police, and here we have a lot of questions, and further steps will be connected with the removal of problems that our citizens face in their communication with the police. We understand the reforms, but we cannot tolerate violations. Everything should be done in accordance with the Constitution and current legislation. Thirdly, I wanted to tell you, and this is one of the ways how to solve problems that I told you about, is the necessity to introduce changes to the law of Ukraine on advocacy and advocates' activities. By this law, the rights of advocates are guaranteed, and we demand to introduce this law, draft law to the parliament, and the administration of the president, they finished the work on this document, and we demand that the parliament should urgently adopt this draft law. Of course, this draft law has some drawbacks, but there are more pluses than minuses. We speak about the drawbacks and we believe we will be heard, and my colleagues will tell you about this activity at international level and what our colleagues from abroad think about it, those who have more experience. And we believe that firstly, this law envisages better regulation, better access to profession, and also regulation of the self-governance in the sphere of advocacy and the defense of rights of advocates. And also, we believe that constitution and legislation should support Ukrainian National Bar Association, and in this case, we will be able to protect ourselves. Our organization is new. We are only 3 years. And during this short time, we just build effective system of advocacy, self-governance, and this is a short period of time. And further changes in the organization of self-governance, it will lead to some weakening of the position of Ukrainian National Bar Association. And I want to sum up, and then I will give the floor to my colleague, and I would like to make some conclusions and tell once more our main concerns and recommendations. We demand from the new government that we hope will be appointed to reform the system of free legal assistance. Also, we demand urgent introduction of changes to the law of advocates and advocate activity to strengthen advocates' guarantee, access to profession, and also status of self-governance of advocates. And the exclusive right of advocacy for the representation in court hearings. And also, we want that legal system of Ukraine be more sophisticated. Thank you very much for your attention. And now I give the floor to the head of Committee on International Relations of Ukrainian National Bar Association, my colleague, Mr. Grechkivskyi. Thank you, Valentyn. Dear colleagues, I would like to continue and to tell you about international activity of the National Bar Association. Now we develop our international cooperation with international legal organizations, and we also share some experience with our international colleagues. And during the creation of National Bar Association at the end of 2012, Ukrainian advocacy was not integrated in the international community, and we built active cooperation in international sphere, and we became full-fledged member of IBA at the end of 2015, and we started to cooperate closely with the advocacy associations of the countries of Europe, namely Germany, Italy, Latvia, and also with the advocacy associations of the United States and Georgia. And this year, the priority for us, and we expect to get observation of the Council of Legal Associations, CCBE. This is an organization that represents and regulates more than 1 million of advocates throughout Europe. And this organization has representatives in the United States and Slovakia, Lithuania, France, and then Cyprus. And I believe that we will be able to enter this list, and two more countries will enter this list. We organized a schedule of international meetings and events that have many components, such as training components and other components. International partners are very important for our association in many aspects. We were created 3 years ago, but now, due to the support at the institutional level by international partners, we have an opportunity to go along the way of development. And our partners, they had tens of years to go along this way. And international support is very important in the sphere of violations of advocates' rights. And the situation deteriorated in Ukraine, and we addressed and we translated these reports into English, and we sent them to international organizations, and we have the address of the CCBE and other organizations. They are addressed to the President of Ukraine and top officials with the request to investigate the killings of advocates that happened this and previous year. And also there is a letter where the practices are described and on violations of advocates' rights in Ukraine, and they demand to interfere in the situation and to stop those violations. And these letters are called letters, intervention letters. We are going to inform international community about non-democratic behavior of our law enforcement bodies, who are sometimes violators of advocates' rights. And also the report in English will be sent to all the countries of the European Union and key countries that are key partners of Ukraine. And one of the elements of promotion of Ukrainian National Bar Association is the holding of events whose participants are international experts, and we have the agreement with Germany to carry out 2 events, and one of them will be held on the 14th of April. This is tomorrow. And the topic will be the regulation of legal assistance market in Germany and Ukraine, and the insurance of advocates' activities. These topics are acute for the reforms in Ukrainian advocacy because there is no exclusive representation of by advocates in the court, and these issues are not regulated properly by legislation. And our association believes that these reforms are urgent, and this process should correspond to European standards, and we should implement better the best practices in this respect. And Ukrainian National Bar Association continues our cooperation with our international partners, and we are going to lobby the interests of Ukrainian lawyers abroad. Do you have some comments or questions? Could you give us an example of violations from the recent practice? You know, there are a series of violations, and they are present on the site. And the matter is that the system of legislation is such that its structure is directed. It doesn't provide it is established in the legislation that each citizen has free right to choose his own lawyer. And we have 33,000 of lawyers in Ukraine, and it is said that in criminal proceedings only a lawyer can defend a person. And every person has the right for defense. So a person can choose any lawyer from 32,000 of lawyers that are in Ukraine. But our law on free legal assistance says different. It says that whether you like it or not, the state will name the lawyer for you, and you cannot reject this lawyer and to get another if there are some problems. And you know that the situation is difficult, and many people have concerns, and there are some issues of non-tolerance, and these issues are difficult to regulate. And for example, a lawyer wants to be paid, and there are some facts that lawyers they are required to show advocate's dossier, and this is the violation because, for example, the person who wants to see this dossier does not have the right to look at these dossiers. So the state doesn't have proper understanding who the client is. The state is not the client. It is an institution with the responsibility of enforcement in the broadest sense of this word. It should provide the right for defense from this reinforcement. And this is the right to provide this free legal assistance. But our state, this is it tries to control in a totalitarian manner and creates a lot of risks for a person. So these are the problems that you can see. So they distribute cases not in a proper way, and financing also is not transparent. So financing of free legal assistance and the payment for such assistance is about 90 per 10, 80 per 20, and we have 60 per 40, so 40% goes to support the system. For civil servants, and 40% only for it goes to pay to lawyers. But in the whole world, they pay to lawyers, but not to support the civil servants in the sphere. If you don't have other questions, thank you very much for coming. Until the next time, goodbye. The next briefing is at 10:30.